Last time I talked about my 11 favorite vocalists, and this time we're talking about my 11 favorite guitarists. Hey, how's it going? I'm Steve Lane. I'm a rock and roll musician. I'm a vinyl junkie, and rock and roll is part of me. It lives within me, it lives around me. I am rock and roll is me. We are one. I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people that have subscribed, all the people that have viewed, all the people that have liked what I'm doing here. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your feedback. I really appreciate your feedback. And I'm just starting out. So if you haven't done so already, if you like what you see, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, not trying to be cliche, but it really does help the algorithms and it really does help a channel like this that's trying to grow. Thank you again for everyone that's watching, has liked, and has subscribed thus far. All right, so last time we talked about my 11 favorite vocalists. Today we're gonna talk about my 11 favorite guitarists. This is gonna be fun, and it was really, really difficult to narrow it down. Really difficult. You'll see I've got like 10,000 honorable mentions. Not that many, but let's just talk about that for a moment. Okay, first off, we're gonna get this out of the way. Yngwie J. Malmsteen. He is not anywhere near this list. Sorry, I can't deal with this playing. He's gifted. Oh my gosh, is he gifted? He's fantastic. He's phenomenal. He's remarkable. All right, dude, I get it. You can play really fast and you're all over the neck. Great. Not my favorite. Sorry, you're not on the list. And I've got a lot of you on vinyl. I have you on CD because of the other people you're playing with. In particular, Joe Lynn Turner, when he did the Rising Force album with him, I had to have that. I mean, Joe Lynn Turner's my favorite rock singer. Alcatraz, I'm a big fan of Alcatraz, so they didn't have too many albums. It was Graham Bonnet's band. Also, I want to talk real quick about Django Reinhardt. He's not on here, only because I don't listen to him. These are my favorite guitarists. These aren't the best guitarists. I heard George Benson told Mike Esposito that, without a doubt, Django Reinhardt's his favorite guitarist. I've talked to a nameless, very, very well-known guitarist who says Django is the best guitarist of all time. I've talked to so many professionals that say that this guy who's missing fingers is the best guitarist of all time. Just listen to him play and listen to what he had to overcome to be able to get there. I just have never really listened to him. I've heard his big songs. I just don't drive around listening to Django, and I love him. He's fantastic. Not on the list. Sorry, favorite guitarist, not the best. And going along with that, Les Paul. Oh my gosh, for years I said he's the best guitarist that ever lived, and he might be. And I might even have a best guitarist list. He's not on this list because he's not my favorite, even though he did everything. He broke new ground, he designed this, he designed that. I wouldn't be recording today, probably, if it wasn't for Les Paul. You gotta listen to the guy play. Him and Mary Ford, his wife, just unbelievably good. One of the best guitarists, if not the best electric guitarist of all time, and he's on the list simply because I don't listen to him as much as I should. However, mad, total respect for Les Paul. Same thing as Les Paul, Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, I got a couple Jimi CDs, I don't have any vinyl. Not a big Jimi Hendrix fan, but I know he was one of the greats, if not the greatest, according to some guitarists. And yeah, he's phenomenal. He broke new ground, he did different things, and he came up with a brand new sound that kind of paved the way for everybody else. He's just not on my list. I don't listen to him. I love him, I respect him. He's just not one of my favorites. And this guy is one of my favorites. I just didn't have enough room for him on the list. Joe Bonamassa. Jay, my producer, phenomenal guitarist himself. He turned me on to him a long time ago when we were collaborating and deciding we wanted to do some music together. He's like, hey, check him out. Oh my gosh, boy, did I ever check him out. I've got tons of his music. He's fantastic, he's phenomenal. And the coolest thing about him is he's a blues guitarist, he's a modern blues guitarist. So the English blues rock guitarists got their influence from American blues guitarists, all right? You can do the math on who, and the British blues guitarists are the ones that influenced Joe Bonamassa. Bonamassa's style is more Clapton, Jeff Beck, Peter Green. It's really cool. If you like blues, modern blues, especially that British blues kind of sound, gotta check out Joe Bonamassa. He's a fantastic guitarist. Another brilliant guitarist, barely didn't make it on the list. The only reason is because I can only think of one album, well, two, that I listen to all the time that he's on. John Sykes from Whitesnake. He was also on the Tigers of Pantang. He was also in Thin Lizzy for a while. Never really listened to him with Thin Lizzy that much. I didn't really listen to Tigers of Pantang much, but I've course I listen to Whitesnake, one of the best rock bands ever. That's really one guy, covered L, but work with me. But Slide It In album, that's him with the best drummer ever. I'll talk about that later. And of course, the 1987 Whitesnake album, the biggest album of the year when it came to rock, that's him. He's the one that wrote some of those songs. Listen to the Whitesnake album, the 1987 album, you'll know what I'm talking about. John Sykes, fantastic, phenomenal guitarist. Barely didn't make the list only because he's on 2 albums that I listen to all the time. Fantastic, love him. This one pains me. It pains me. I just didn't have enough room. Larry Carlton. Oh my gosh, Mr. 335. Larry, I've been listening to you my whole life. I bought your live album right when it came out. Last Night is what it's called, and when you recorded at the Baked Potato. And I was already into you, and I already had some of your albums, but when I heard you play live, he famously plays his Gibson 335, right? But on this particular album, he played a Valley Arts custom with these hot pickups, and it just changed his sound drastically. It really did. That's one of my favorite live albums ever when it comes to jazz because of that. He's played all over tons of 70s songs. He played with Steely Dan. He played with everybody. He's a session player. He's a name in his own right. One of the best guitarists that's ever lived. Sorry you didn't make the list, but just barely. I just didn't have enough room for you. I love Larry Carlton. And the last one that didn't make the list, and man, it was tough, Trevor Rabin. Yes, Mr. Owner of a Lonely Heart. He wrote that sucker. What a guitarist. Yeah, he does a lot of movie soundtracks. That's what he's more famous for now, but he did those 2 albums with Yes that were just phenomenal. Yeah, he did another album called Union with Yes, but I don't consider that one part of the Yes collection with Trevor Rabin, except for one song which is great, Lift Me Up. Trevor Rabin's guitar style is fantastic. His songwriting ability is fantastic. I don't listen to him all the time like I used to. I used to listen to 90125. I put on Big Generator from Yes in the car the other day, and my wife and son couldn't handle it. I love Trevor Rabin though. I love your playing. You didn't make the list by just barely. Now it's time for me to get into the real list. All right, the real list, the 11 greatest guitarists. Starting with numero uno, I'm gonna go backwards. Number 1, my favorite guitarist of all time, no matter what, come rain, come shine, 365, 24/7, Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny. Yes, he's like half man, half guitar. He is. I mean, the guy plays acoustic and electric, and he was one of the pioneers of the synclavier with all these synth sounds coming out of his guitar. And God, he was a kid. He was like 16, 17 years old, playing with Jocko on his first album, A Bright Size Life. Hey, oh man, it's just, he's a prodigy. He's not just a guitarist, he's a composer, and he just sees music. His music has its own unique style that's almost indescribable. Yeah, he's won tons of Grammys, probably more than any other guitarist now that I think about it. All of his albums, every single album is consistently good. Pat Metheny, number 1 guitarist, he always will be. He's the one that really got me into that style of music. Yeah, it's jazz, but it's more Metheny. It's not even really categorized. Guitarist numero dos, my second favorite guitarist, Neil Schon. Yes, Neil Schon from Journey. Yes, the guy that's in the super famous band. Yeah, he plays on songs that you've heard. The guy can shred. And when he doesn't shred, you know that he can shred. And that's what I like most about him. My favorite guitar solo ever is from Who's Crying Now. Why? Because he's not ripping it up. He's just like giving those choice notes. And he's just playing them, and you can feel him and you can hear him, and you know that he can shred, but he doesn't shred. He holds back. And then sometimes he lets go, and you're like, whoa. If you've never seen Journey live, do yourself a favor, do it. Sometimes he plays a national anthem. It's one of the best renditions I've ever heard. Neil Schon, second favorite guitarist of all time. It always will be that way. Love his playing, always will. Numero tres, number 3, best guitarist ever. He really should be number 1, but I can't do that to Metheny and Schon. My producer, my dear friend, Jay Soto. Oh my gosh, the guy had a number 2 hit back in 2007. It's on the contemporary jazz charts. His song actually was number 1 for one day, from what I understand, on Billboard. One day. It's not about the chart positions, it's about his talent and his complete comprehension of music. I mean, the guy plays every instrument. I'm talking about guitar, yes, but he plays every instrument. He's probably gonna play the majority of the instruments on my album. He already has up to this point, but now that I'm bringing in some other musicians, he's still it. I mean, he's a predominant player. Eric Clapton thinks he's great. Clint Eastwood thinks he's great. He doesn't want me to say this, but Steve Lukather wrote him a really nice long note about how well he thinks his music sounds. I mean, the guy he's phenomenal. You got to check him out. Jay Soto, he's on everything. He's on everything streaming. You can Wikipedia the guy. Jay Soto, one of my favorite guitarists of all time, and he's one of my dear friends. And best of all, he's my producer. That's why I rock so hard. All right, number 4, numero cuatro, my 4th favorite guitarist, Eric Johnson. Oh my gosh, I love Eric Johnson. I've seen him live, about 4 or 5 times. His first major release on Warner Brothers Records was called Tones. That's the best way to describe him. His tone is immaculate. He has the best guitar tone, I think, of any guitarist. He must have stayed up nights and nights and nights trying to dial in that perfect tone of his, and he found it, he's got it. He's phenomenal. The guy can scream when he wants. He can do country when he wants. He can lay back when he wants. And he's a great singer. One of my favorite guitarists ever, Eric Johnson. Love the guy. Number 5, my 5th favorite guitarist, Steve Lukather, AKA Luke. Yes, he's the guy from Toto. Yes, he's the guy that doesn't play Eddie Van Halen solo on Beat It and countless other songs. He is probably the most recorded guitarist with hit songs that's ever lived. From what I understand, he's been on about 1,000 hits, maybe? Correct me if I'm wrong, do in the comments below. I haven't researched this. He's been on more hits than any other guitarist. The guy can play any style. He can play anything. He's a great singer. He's actually one of my favorite singers. I can't believe I didn't put him on my favorite singers list. I love his voice. And he's it. He's Mr. Toto, and he's also Mr. Session Player. He's everything. He's a songwriter. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenon. Steve Lukather, AKA Luke. My 6th favorite guitarist, God rest his soul, the one and only, incomparable Stevie Ray Vaughan. Oh my gosh, I will never forget that day in 1990 when I was selling audio video systems at a place called West Coast Sound. Pretty big store, man. It was a pretty big store, and I was showing this guy a TV, and all of a sudden I see this special report, and his talking head is talking, and there's a picture of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm like, excuse me, sir, one moment, please. I turned it on. The whole store, it was a big store, the whole store heard a, no! It was bad. I was heartbroken. Oh man, what a talent. He reinvented the wheel when it came to blues rock as a whole. He had a great voice too, love his singing. When it comes to blues, Texas blues, blues rock, whatever you want to call it, he's it. He's number 1 for me, and he's one of my favorite guitarists. 7th favorite guitarist, the guy only did 2 albums that I know of. Yeah, he recorded another one. Randy Rhoads, Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist that died in a crazy, having a fun day plane crash. Could you imagine if he'd have lived longer than 24 years? Oh my gosh. Think about what he did up until that point. I mean, the guy blended classical with metal just unlike anyone else ever. What a talent. I can't say enough good things about him. And he only really did 2 albums. He did Blizzard of Oz and he did Diary of a Madman. Yeah, he was with Quiet Riot before. And yeah, I've heard the Quiet Riot stuff. You can tell he's talented. I wish Randy Rhoads could have done more work. He wanted to pursue classical. He told Ozzy, I want to do everything. Everywhere he went, from what I understand, he tried to find lessons from a classical teacher when they were on the road. He was just all about the music. One of the best guitarists of all time and one of my favorite guitarists ever. Number 8, somebody I listen to a lot because of the band he is in, David Gilmour, Mr. Pink Floyd. I've heard it said by so many people that the best guitar solo of all time is from Comfortably Numb. I don't think it's the best, but it's one of my favorite solos. But oh my gosh, and it's not just for that song, I mean, his taste and his choice of chords and notes, and he doesn't overplay, and sometimes he can shred and sometimes he doesn't. And he's got a really nice, cool voice too. It's like almost like a soothing voice. I love David Gilmour. He's almost like on another plane. He's like on another level, I think. One of my favorite guitarists. I love David Gilmour, and I love Pink Floyd. Number 9, my 9th favorite guitarist, and he's put out an album a little while ago, about a year ago. It's actually pretty good. Mainly, when I'm talking about this guy, we're talking about the one and only Johnny Marr from The Smiths. The guy was innovative more than any other guitarist in the 80s, I thought. His choice of chords and his structure and his notes, and he could do acoustic, and then when he did electric, and sometimes it was distorted, sometimes he was clean, sometimes he did this crazy tremolo effect, and they had to record How Soon Is Now in such a way. I don't want to get into technicalities of it, but Johnny Marr, if you just sit down and close your eyes and not listen to Morrissey for a while. I know it's tough because his voice is very unique, but try to listen to just what Johnny Marr is doing. He's a brilliant guitarist. There's no one like him. You can pick him out in a second. He's got his own style and he broke a lot of new ground. He's very innovative. His work really from the Smiths is what I'm more interested in. However, I do like his new album. It's really good. You should check it out. All right, my 10th favorite guitarist. I got turned on to him by accident because it was a cheap CD in 1986. The CDs were not cheap. I picked up a CD for $5 by Allan Holdsworth. Allan Holdsworth, it was called Metal Fatigue. I still have the CD, I have it on vinyl. That guy blew my mind off. I was like, what the heck is this? It's called Metal Fatigue. I thought it was metal. I was really into metal in the 80s. So I thought it was a metal album. I was like, yeah, I'll buy it for $5. And I was like, what the heck? And when I started to hear him play, I said, whoa, this is not metal, but this is phenomenal. So I went on to be a pretty big fan of his, and he's not for everyone, okay? His choice of chords is never the chord you think he's going to play. Like if he's playing this, you think he's naturally gonna go here? Nuh-uh, he's gonna go way off in another direction. And that's what I like so much about him. Yeah, he's quick and yeah, he's nimble, but it's his choice of chords, it's his tone. He never really played acoustic. I only heard him play acoustic on one song actually on that album. Allan Holdsworth, he's not for everyone, but if you're a musician or a guitarist, you know who he is. One of those guitar players, you hear like 2 or 3 notes, like, oh, that's Allan Holdsworth. You can tell, you can tell. The guy was a musical genius. Rest in peace, we miss you, Allan. Number 11, I had to put at least one guitarist on here that doesn't use a pick. And I picked my wife's favorite guitarist, and he's actually one of my favorite guitarists too, Lindsey Buckingham. Yes, Mr. Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, he's had a couple solo hits as well. Primarily though, his work with Fleetwood Mac is outstanding. I mean, man, have you ever heard the live version of Big Love when it's just him and a guitar? Oh my gosh, you gotta check it out. I mean, you know Lindsey Buckingham, come on, think of all the hits from Fleetwood Mac. Think about like Family Man with that acoustic lead. I could go on and on. Just Lindsey Buckingham, love the guy, my 11th favorite. And that's it. If you haven't already, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I've appreciated everyone that's liked me and subscribed to me thus far. Thank you for letting me talk about my favorite guitarists. I'll catch you next time. And until then, be cool and keep rocking.